and welcome to the Weekly Fixation. It's finally that time of the week where we get to take a look back at all that we've watched, read, or listened to and discuss what we just couldn't keep out of our heads. This week we were fixated on our brother, the Wookiee Jedi, gone too soon. I'm Brennan Sem.
And I'm Shayde, and we are the New Wave Nerds.
That's right, this week we're going to be discussing the Acolyte episodes 3 and 4. Shayde, no spoiler reviews. What are your thoughts of these two episodes?
Great characters, some great characters that I have grown to enjoy, but is tougher to enjoy because of a lot of issues with the show. And that's still going on with these two episodes. And well, my love for the character grows more and more with more episodes we get. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I pretty much agree. I think, there's definitely some characters that I'm liking. There's some aspects of the show that I really do enjoy. It's certainly, like you mentioned, there are some things that are definitely negatives that are making it hard to really enjoy the show as a whole. But I will say that there are some aspects that I am enjoying, right? I mean, yeah. We want to be fair here. And so before we talk about just how bad it is, we always want to say some good things. Yeah. I will say, however, in these episodes 3 and 4, there were less shots that I enjoyed. Like in episodes 1 and 2, there was a lot more that I felt like I had really, really enjoyed watching. Yeah. I remember there's one in particular that stands out to me from episode 3, which is the flashback episode where we learn about the origin of Mae and Osha. So, again, no spoilers, but they're just standing on opposite sides of the frame, and I really, really like the symmetry there. There is a gap in the background behind them, sort of further emphasizing the divergence between these two formerly really close sisters, these two young girls who at one point had an inseparable bond. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that shot. But overall, I would say that there were few in these episodes than there were in the first two.
Yeah. Yeah. These last two episodes, I kind of liked a little better, I will say, though. More for the fact of, I guess again, the flashbacks, as we will get to later. There were some things wrong with that episode, but there were a lot of good things with that episode, things I enjoyed. And one of them specifically would probably be just Mae's character as a kid. Mm-hmm. I really liked her in general and how she has this drive to want to be a Jedi.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I thought I guess I'm sorry. I don't know how to quite put this without spoiling it, but I'm going to try. The way that they build up how Osha eventually leaves this coven of witches and wants to join the Jedi. I really enjoyed that. I sort of liked the emotional undercurrent there. It makes a little bit of sense, with these twins, the way that they sort of diverged, I guess.
Yeah. The witches were interesting.
Yeah, they certainly were.
That caught me off guard. I still have yet to watch the Clone Wars. Well, I've seen a good amount, but I never got to where the witches were introduced in the Clone Wars.
Right.
So I was pretty new to the thought of there being witches in Star Wars, I guess. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not really like a thought that's like impossible. Like, oh, there can't be witches in Star Wars. Right. But it's just something I didn't really think about. So
no, yeah. I agree. I mean, it's certainly a weird term that sometimes feels out of place in the sci-fi universe just because it's so laden with fantasy connotations. Yeah. But the way that I sort of think about it to sort of reconcile that in my head is just which is just the term that they use for themselves, and if we're broadly speaking, they're all just force wielders. They're all force sensitive people. It is worth noting that the witches that appear in the Clone Wars, the Night Sisters, this is the people from whom we get Darth Maul, Savage Opress, and Asajj Ventress, Mother Talzin. Their magic, I guess you would say, it has a different effect. So in this, the Acolyte, these witches, their ability manifests itself in the same way that the Force does. It's sort of, you can't really see it except for one moment where she makes a thread that has a little warble effect. But in the Clone Wars, the Night Sisters, the magic that they use has a more smoky green effect. So I'm a little bit curious here, how, like, are the Night Sisters, and this is a rhetorical question because like you mentioned, you haven't seen the Clone Wars. I'm just more posing it to hopefully somebody can reply in the comments. Maybe you're aware, maybe you've read a little bit more of the lore there and can fill in some blanks for us. But I'm curious, are the Night Sisters actually using the Force, or are they using their own kind of magic?
See, here's the thing. There's been many different instances from my memory where we can, I guess, kind of see the Force in a physical form. It just kind of looks like it looks like what she had, Right. But at the time of watching it, I didn't really think about it, and I thought it was pretty stupid. I was like, why are they showing the Force,
Yeah, I mean, it does look a little weird, especially because most of the Force ability, the Force wielding, there is no visual effect. But I understand the point. She's using it as a lesson to sort of teach these children, and I think it's an interesting concept. But I don't really like the term that they use. So this isn't really a spoiler, but this group, this coven of witches, they don't refer to the Force as the Force. They call it the thread, right? Which, as a concept, is interesting, right? It makes sense that you would have these different cultures who would interpret this Force in different ways, right? That's exactly how we see it in the real world, and so it makes sense that there are these different things. I just think the name sounds stupid from like a marketing standpoint. It just, I don't know. There's something about it that doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being weird, but calling it the thread doesn't. I don't know. There's something about it that just fits wrong. But see, and so here's another thing. Actually, at this point, why don't we transition to the spoiler section of the video? So we're going to be talking a little bit more in depth about the story of episodes 3 and 4 here. So this is your final warning.
This is your only warning. Well, we'll probably warn you a couple times.
Yeah, I always go, just spoiler warning, just in case.
This is your biggest one, so.
This is the important one. If you get spoiled after this, then it's not my fault. It's just you. It's your fault for not listening.
Yeah.
But so, my thing is, like, she calls it the thread, and she sort of like dismisses the Jedi view of the Force. But what she describes as the thread is the exact same thing that is described by Qui-Gon as the Force in Phantom Menace. So it's like there's a distinction without a difference. And I don't know necessarily why we do this. It seems a little weird to me, right? Like, if you're going to go so far as to say that this group has a much different viewpoint from any other Force sensitive users, then I think you should also go far enough and say that the entire philosophy around it is different.
Okay.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Now, as for their actual philosophy, right? So Mother Onasea, played by Jodie Turner-Smith, is the leader of this coven.
Yeah, I'd say the witch leader.
I was gonna try and figure out like a fun name.
The witch queen.
The witch queen.
The witch queen.
Could be.
The Sith witch.
The Sith witch. That sounds delicious. When we open our cafe, we need to have a sandwich called the Sith witch.
Just the Sith witch.
It's like Black Forest ham and like
black bread.
Black bread, yeah, really burnt toast.
We could do red and black sourdough.
That would be funny. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, actually, I'm glad that you brought up the Sith witch thing, right? Because the view that they give is literally like the exact view of the Sith. It's the way that they view the Force, right? So Mother Onasea goes on this whole rant where she says, some people think to wield the Force. And then later on, and some people wish to wield the Force, and like we don't. And then 2 seconds later, she talks about how you need to manipulate the Force and manipulate the thread, because if you manipulate one thing, it manipulates another, right? Because it's all connected. But the idea of manipulating the Force, that is of the Sith. That is the dark side of the Force. So I talked about this a little bit in whatever the news segment. I don't remember what all I was talking about, but it was the episode where I talked about your thinking Anakin blew up the Death Star. The way that the Jedi view the Force, the way that the light side of the Force works, is you don't bend the Force to your will. Mm-hmm. You bend your will to be in accordance with the Force. And the way that the dark side wields the Force is that they bend the Force to their will and manipulate it.
So they're still just part of the dark side.
They're just still the dark side. They're just dark side.
The Sith is run by men.
I mean, it is. You know, we don't have that many female Sith. No. Wouldn't that be funny if that's the origin of this coven of witches, is that they were forced out of the Sith? That would be hilarious. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Yeah. It would make sense. I mean, like I said, their philosophies are basically the exact same thing.
I mean, really, yeah. There was a little bit of a change, but they're still evil.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
They still had so much evil intent with everything they were doing, especially her the Witch Queen's wife.
Yeah, Mother Coral. Oh man.
She wanted to like lock them in a room, beat them. What in the world?
Well, so the Jedi show up on this planet. And, you know, it's right after Mother Anasea gives this whole speech about, like, you know, sort of tantamount to, like, the value of life, right? Where she's like, if you pull on one thing, you know, everything's connected, right? Which sort of makes you believe that they have this sort of value of life. And then the Jedi show up, and Mother Coral is like, let's just kill them. Well, there's only 4 of them. Nobody's going to miss them.
Yeah.
Like, what? This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there was in that scene where the Jedi show up. I'm just asking you this because I don't really know if this is what I think they were implying, but you know they kind of implied I brought this implication up to you when we watched the first 2 episodes, and it was when the person the Jedi is confronting isn't doing anything wrong, and then they reach for their lightsaber and unclip it. And then the other Jedi's like, no, they didn't do nothing wrong. That was Sal.
So this are you talking about in the scene where the Jedi show up?
Yeah, where
Master Soul grabs his lightsaber?
Yeah, and he's like, did he grab his lightsaber?
He did, but the reason he grabs his lightsaber is because he wants to show it to Mae and Osha. So he goes for his lightsaber, and Master Indara is like, no. And he looks at her and he's like, give me a minute. And he grabs the lightsaber and he presents it to Osha. And he basically is like, I think you would be an amazing Jedi. Would you come join us? And Osha's like, heck yeah. But so right before that, there's another thing that sort of gives insight into how, I guess evil, but how much of the dark side this coven of witches really taps into, right? So we have this, what they call the Ascension ceremony, which is where Osha and Mae are supposed to become witches. And the area where they're chanting, they're right in front of a big old hole. And it's a big old hole in, you know, the middle of nowhere, or on the top of this mountain for no reason. And, you know, you look down it and you don't see the bottom, right? It's just dark and dark. And that instantly reminded me of the hole on the island where Luke is training Rey, right? In The Last Jedi, there's a part where Rey goes here and doesn't she see it first, and Luke says, don't go there, that's a place of evil and dark. Yeah. And then eventually, obviously, she goes in there anyway and has this vision and whatever. But it's the exact same thing. And they're chanting around this thing like this is the thing from which they are gaining the power to do this ascension ceremony. And Mother Anasea gives this whole speech where she's like, we were persecuted by the Jedi. They hunted us down because they view our powers as dark and unnatural. And then, like, 3 minutes later, the Jedi show up, and Mother Anasea uses her powers on Padawan Torben, which causes his eyes to go completely black. And she, like, takes him over. She essentially makes him a slave for a little while. And she threatens, if you want your Padawan back, leave.
Yeah, that's evil as crap.
That's evil. Like, you're literally taking away somebody's free will.
Yeah. Yeah,
which
no.
is like the very definition of this evil.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows what you even see when you're in that state? Maybe you see things.
Yeah, you very well could. Or it could just be like, it could just feel like you're locked in like a metal box, just watching everything go on around you, but unable to actually do anything.
Oh, that would
right?
suck.
It could just be like you're trapped in your own mind, witnessing everything and fighting back with every ounce of your consciousness and will, but you can't do anything because this power has overtaken you.
Yeah.
Which is just straight up evil.
Yeah.
And further, to prove that this coven of witches utilize the dark side and manipulate the Force to serve their will, again, a Sith tactic antithetical to the view of the Jedi. And this is a massive spoiler. It turns out that Mae and Osha have no father. They were birthed to Mother Coral by Mother Anastasia, manipulating the Force to create these children. Which is, like, if manipulating the Force is an act of evil and of the dark side, then manipulating the Force to the extent to make new life is the ultimate example, I guess, of dark side power.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, I mean, we could talk about, you know, how, like what you one of your biggest issues while we were watching it, and that was the Anakin thing.
Yeah. So obviously, if you've seen, you know, the prequel trilogy, you're familiar with the fact that when you know, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan go to Tatooine, and Qui-Gon is talking to Shmi Skywalker, Anakin's mom, and he goes, you know, he basically figures out that Anakin has the highest midichlorian count they've ever seen, higher than Yoda. And he's like, who's the boy's father? Because naturally you want to be like, oh man, where does this lineage come from? What is this powerful blood? Where is this line? Mm-hmm. And she goes, there's no father. You know, I can't explain it. And the implication there is that Anakin was birthed by the Force. Yeah. Right? It was the Force that impregnated Shmi Skywalker as a response to the actions taken. And so this part is not actually canon. This was in the now Legends book Darth Plagueis, but the way that it's described there is that the Force birthed Anakin as a response to Plagueis and Palpatine manipulating the Force.
Whoa!
Right?
Wait. Okay, that just makes me think of how much Star Wars resembles the Bible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Birth, no father, but the father is
this all-powerful Force.
This entity that is more powerful than anything alive.
Yeah. Well, it goes further than that, right? Because, you know, Anakin, being the chosen one, being, you know, the son of this all-powerful Force, he is the one to bring balance. And how does he ultimately bring balance? By sacrificing himself. Oh, yeah. Because he dies by the Force lightning of Palpatine.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's ultimately the lightning from Palpatine which causes him to die. So he sacrifices himself and brings balance to the Force, redeems humanity in the way that Jesus does on the cross. Yeah. So it goes even further than that. But so I do want to bring up one point because, you know, there's a chance we'll get comments about this. There was I want to say it was 2017, a Darth Vader comic, and there's a panel there where Anakin is having a Force vision. He opens a gateway into like this metaphysical realm, and he experiences visions of his past, present, and future. Actually, in that scene, there's even a panel of him fighting Ahsoka on Malachor from Rebels. It's pretty cool. And on this panel, there is a part where it looks like Palpatine is manipulating the Force to bring Anakin into the world. And so a lot of people interpreted that as confirmation of a long theory that you know, Palpatine is what caused the birth of Anakin. But the author, the comic writer himself, Charles Soule, It's Soule. I don't know how that's pronounced, but the author himself has said that that is not how that panel is supposed to be interpreted.
Okay.
It doesn't actually mean that. That's what the author himself says. So in truth, there has been no canonical explanation for the birth of Anakin. I really, really like the idea that's brought forth in the Legends Darth Plagueis model, that novel, not model, that Plagueis and Palpatine are messing with the midichlorians. And because of that, the Force responds in kind by making its own life. I think that's an amazing story. But ultimately, sorry to tie it back to Mae and Osha, which is the reason that we started talking about this, is that I think ultimately, even though, you know, if we're going under the assumption that the Force conceived Anakin, it is different because Mae and Osha are conceived through the manipulation of the Force, right? Not from the Force itself. So that separates them from Anakin. But ultimately, I do think it means that it's much like the birth of this person through, you know, these unnatural means. That is so much less, it has so much less of an impact, right? When you think the first person birthed into the world through the act of the Force itself and not through, you know, typical human sexual reproduction, it is it's much less impactful when you know that there have not only been one but two people born from the Force without fathers before.
Yeah, I mean, well, I really hope that is not the case for Mae and
Osha.
What
do you mean?
That they're born from the Force.
They said it in the episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mother Coral says, I carried them, and Mother Anastasia says, and I created them. I guess they don't explicitly say that it's through manipulation of the Force, but that's the heavy implication.
I just don't get how that works, you know, because it's never being talked about.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned how Anakin, like, I lost my train of thought. I'll get back to it. But yeah, I don't know. It just it really doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. I forgot what I was gonna say too. I just think ultimately, like, I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea. It just ultimately feels. Okay, so here's the thing. I guess I wouldn't necessarily, and maybe we'll see this in future episodes, but I think if they make it so that Anakin is birthed as a reaction to this manipulation, then I think that would sort of round it out, and it brings in the idea of from that Plagueis novel, and it sort of makes sense. But this is so far removed. I mean, this is like what it's at least it's like 100 years before the birth of Anakin Skywalker, you know? Yeah. And so it's like the time frame doesn't make sense here. And so it's a little bit weird, right? Like, I think if you wanted to do this idea of two people being birthed through manipulation of the Force, I think it needs to be done closer to the birth period of Anakin to sort of reconcile that. But that's just me. I think ultimately right now it maybe makes for a more interesting story in the Acolyte, but in my opinion, ultimately it all it does is take away from the prequel and original trilogies.
Yeah. If there's no mention of it at all, even as an Easter egg in the modern movies, then don't do something like that, you know? I mean, because then it really just doesn't make any sense.
Well, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really, like I said, the fact that they want to do this idea, I'm not necessarily opposed to it in concept. Like the idea of forming a child through manipulation of the Force, I think it could be really interesting. It's just the timeline is weird. Sorry, no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I bet you if they would have pitched this idea to George Lucas and they would have said, we're also gonna do the manipulation of the Force idea to create babies.
Yeah, I don't think you would have gone for it.
No.
I mean, I don't think you would have gone for it. I don't even know if you would have gone for the idea that's put forth in the Plagueis model, right? I don't even. Well, I guess now that I even think about it, he probably would have gone with that because ultimately, obviously, Plagueis and Palpatine, they don't make a life, It's just through their experimentations that the Force responds. Because they're messing with the Force and they aren't succeeding, they're messing up the balance, and so the Force responds in kind. And so, sorry, I'm just gonna say it's really, really weird to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand, and again, hopefully we get some conclusion on this before this series ends, but it's weird to me that especially like someone like Mother Onasea, like they would include this speech where she's talking about if you pull on one thread, it moves all the other threads. It's weird that they would have her say that and like not sort of, I guess, address the consequences, you know, like I just, that seems to me like the idea of, it's basically putting forth the Plagueis model, right? If you pull on the threads, everything moves. What moves is the Force responds in kind. But she just willy-nilly pulled on the thread to make 2 more kiddos.
Yeah. I remember that's how my mom told me that's how it works. So
yeah,
you just got to pull on the Force thread and boom, you got 2 babies and child support.
It's really, really bothering me that I can't, like, I'm not remembering the name of like what it's called when a like the birth of Jesus, like what's that called when they're born without a father? It's really bothering me.
Abandonment.
It's really gonna irritate me here. Why don't you talk about why don't we move on to episode 4?
Okay. So episode 4, remind me a little bit.
So we jump back to present day, and this is when we're on the forest.
Okay. So yes, we are chilling in a forest where our Wookiee friend has sadly passed away. We find him dead, sliced, good lightsaber blade, you know. So it was a very sad moment, and it sucks because they did advertise him pretty good. Like, he's in the poster, you know, he's in the poster, but it's the same thing. They did the same dang thing with Carrie and Moss, you know. They advertise, she's still in the poster too. So, and they're both just dead. And we didn't get to see really anything with the Wookiee. We got to see a funny little scene where he throws something at a bunch of kids. And then
yeah. And then that's it.
And then
and he's in the flashbacks when they're on Brandok. But that's it.
Yeah, so
I can't find the term what I'm looking for, so I'm just going to give up. Somebody put it in the comments because it's really going to bother me.
And Wookiees are cool.
Well, and so I read a tweet from one of the writers that the reason that they didn't include the actual Wookiee fight scene is because they didn't have the budget for it.
You want to know why? Do you want to know why?
So, but I cannot believe that for a second. So the total estimated budget for this series is like $180 million, which makes it so that every single episode costs around double of the entire budget of Godzilla -1, which won the Oscar this year for best visual effects.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. How are you spending so much money and yet you can't have this Wookiee fight? How did this show have a higher budget than Kenobi?
Kenobi was good. I loved Kenobi.
It was all right. It was better than this.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, this is atrocious.
I just don't understand, like, why would you make such a big deal about having a Jedi Wookiee? Like, you're right. It was in all of the promotional material. They talked about it in all of the interviews. Everybody was so excited. And then we get to see him for all of, like, 6 frames. Yeah. And that's really it. Like, what is the point? This whole show is a masterclass in deceptive marketing. This entire show. And I'm so mad about it. I didn't realize I was so mad about it until just now, until I started getting worked up for no reason. It's ridiculous. They built it up like we were going to see this Wookiee for a long time. They built it up like we were going to see Carrie Ann Moss for a long time. And there's a scene at the end of episode 4 where all of the Jedi have their lightsabers out ready to go to battle. And they released that image as promotional material for episode 4. But it doesn't even happen in episode 4. Like, they pull their lightsabers and then there's no fight.
Yeah, no, they just stand there.
Like, why would you release... Why? Because you know when you release that image of all of the Jedi battle ready, the thought that comes into people's minds is that, oh, in this episode, I'm going to see an epic battle with like 12 Jedi.
Yeah.
But no, we see them run forward and then they're pushed away with a Force blast and credits roll. It just makes me so mad. It is a masterclass in deceptive marketing. Yeah. I'm so irritated.
It's crazy how...
I gotta breathe.
That was a powerful Force blast too. There was a lot of Jedi there.
Oh yeah,
ready to go. And she's like, whew. And
well, we don't know it's a she. It's the masked Sith.
Sorry,
I'm pretty sure it's a he. I mean, we don't know who it is.
I don't know.
Can we talk about the design for that guy though? Hang on, let me pull up a picture here.
Oh no, dude. When you said gimp, when you told me it looks like a gimp, I didn't catch it at first because I didn't see the teeth. But it literally looks like a zipper mouth.
It literally, like people, to find this image, I googled Darth Teeth because that's what people are calling him on the internet. Darth Teeth. I saw Darth Zipper Mouth.
Darth Latex.
Darth Latex. I saw another one that I thought was really funny. Instead of Darth Teeth, it should be Smilo Ren.
Smilo Ren.
This is just so stupid.
Darth STDs.
Like, I see the idea that you're going for here, and I think it could have been really cool, but it just looks stupid to me.
You know what would look cool? I mean, you know how you could put maybe like a cool piece right here? That's Darth Vader.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you had just like done the whole grill, it would have been better.
Yeah.
You know, at least then it wouldn't look like he's like.
Maybe if they made the grill go all the way up to that line, to that curved line.
To which line? This one?
Yeah.
That would actually be pretty cool.
That would look crazy cool because then it would look like a creepy smile.
See, here's the thing. Like this design is literally, it just feels like an amalgamation of like
Kylo Ren.
Yeah. Well, that's just one thing, so it can't be an amalgamation. But it just feels like a mix of all of the different like Sith that we've seen. So we've got Kylo Ren's helmet here.
It looks like one of the Knights of Ren masks.
It does. And you know what? It also kind of just looks like Darth Revan.
Oh yeah.
It kind of looks like his mask.
Oh yeah, the little slit.
Oh no, it doesn't.
Oh yeah.
It kind of looks a little more like it there, but it feels like, I don't know. To me, it just it just looks like they had, let's go just find a helmet, and they had the helmet, and they're like, how are we gonna make this look? How are we gonna add some detail to this so it's not just bland? And they're like, I don't know, let's put some chompers on it.
Let me open my drawer.
Let me see what I got. Oh man, it's just it was really that's a pretty cool mask.
Who is that? I've seen that character a lot. I just don't know who that
Perhaps.
is. Looks awesome. That costume looks crazy cool.
Not him.
No.
Not him.
Boy ain't got no jaw.
Give me a minute.
He's got
Let me do some doodling quick.
chin.
Let me do some Googling quick.
Weak chin.
Oh, here we go. Darth Nihilus. It says it right there.
Oh.
Which is a dope name.
Yeah. Annihilate. Yo.
Well, Nihil is Latin for nothing. So ex nihilo means from nothing.
I knew
So
that.
he's like Darth Nothing. Darth Void is probably
cool.
an accurate translation.
Got
This would be a really cool character to see. I think he shows up in which game is it? Appearances. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. The Old Republic. Oh man. What a good one. Okay. Now, so back to Star Wars Episode 4. Yeah, I'm Star Wars Episode 4. Not A New Hope. We're talking about the Acolyte Episode 4. I'm so disappointed by the Wookiee Jedi. Like, they literally built that up so much, and then it's nothing.
He was bald.
He was bald.
Yeah,
I didn't like that design choice all that much. I thought it would have looked better if he had a whole head of hair.
They balded his head. Like, why?
Here we go. Yeah, here we go.
Look at that.
I don't like the way that looks at all.
Gave him a buzz cut.
Yeah, no, that looks really bad in my opinion. I mean, if you'd just done it the whole thing and still had this little,
maybe like braids all the like.
That would have been so cool.
Like a bunch of braids, maybe Viking braids.
Oh, that would have been really cool. See, the thing is, I just don't even know why they decided to shave his head. Like, I don't know who thought that looked good.
Viking braids on the beard. of
Yo, now Viking braids on his arms.
his pits.
His bits. Oh,
Put some
no.
beads on them.
Yo. So why don't we talk about we mentioned Darth Teeth, the design of him a little bit. Let's talk about the actual like identity of this guy, right? Because it's still a mystery. And the implication is that it's supposed to be, it's very, very heavily implied that the Sith is this Chimere fellow from episode 2. This is the guy that Mae gets the poison from to kill Master Torben.
Which would be a weird twist.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, like, it's so heavy-handed in episode 3 that, like, or in episode 4 rather, that I wouldn't. Did I say episode 3 earlier when she kills Master Torben? I meant episode 2. Sorry. It's so heavy-handed in episode 4 that I kind of hope it's a misdirect. Like, is it this at this point? It's like, oh, if the mystery Sith is this guy, it's like, yeah, well, we knew that from episode 4, halfway through the series.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not a very good mystery. We learned the details of it right away.
Yeah.
You know? It's so obvious. Like, they're both on this planet, and then, you know, he disappears, and then the Sith, or not Sith, I guess we don't know if he's a Sith, do we? Mm-hmm. I suppose, is he the Acolyte? Or is Mae the Acolyte?
What does Acolyte mean again?
Acolyte means, like, student.
No.
I guess the question is, do we think there's somebody above this Sith guy?
Only God himself.
Well, I mean, do we think he has a master? Do we think he has a Sith master? Do we think he's the Vader to somebody's Palpatine? Or do we think he's Palpatine and he's grooming Mae to be his Darth Vader? Because she was birthed by the Force.
I don't know. I mean, that was a really powerful Force blast. That knocked a building over.
Yeah.
Did you see the wood fly? It looked like the freaking Nagasaki test bomb footage. You know, I'm serious. Like with the buildings flying away.
That was crazy.
I said the test footage. Nothing actually happened with that. Okay.
That was crazy. Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. He's very powerful. He's very, very powerful. So yeah, I mean, I suppose it's definitely more feasible that he's the master.
Maybe he also isn't even a Sith. He could possibly.
He could just be nobody.
Just a nonchalant free roamer who hates everyone.
Here's the thing, though. At least now, okay. So we know that, you know, Leslie Henlin is not opposed to breaking canon, but canon in universe, only Sith and their, like, direct Sith, like, acolytes have red lightsabers because of the way that the crystal is formed. Because of the way you do it, it's only a Sith weapon. Now, obviously, they could change that in this, but up until now, that is established in canon that only Sith and Sith, like, apprentices use red lightsabers.
Okay.
And speaking of how the red lightsaber crystal is formed, you have to read. I think it's a comic book. It's Star Wars Darth Vader, and I think it's like Dark Lord of the Sith. So there's Star Wars Darth Vader, and I think that one takes place after A New Hope. But there's Star Wars Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, and that one takes place after Revenge of the Sith. And I think the second the second trade paperback in that series includes the issue and the arc where Anakin has to go get his own red lightsaber.
Yeah.
So in the first trade paperback, he has a red lightsaber, but it's not a crystal that he himself has created. And so in the second one, he has to go, and the way that you do it is you have to kill a Jedi, take the Kyber crystal from their I don't know why that's happening. Take the Kyber crystal from their lightsaber and imbue it with all of the dark side energy you can. Imbue it with anger and hate and malice and evil. And then that's what corrupts the crystal and turns it red. And it's because of that process that only the Sith use red lightsabers.
I mean, okay, so ever since Kylo Ren, all Sith just kind of feel like a teen in a goth phase. You know? Like, they just don't seem intimidating. They don't seem nothing compared to any Sith we've gotten in the past before Kylo Ren.
Yeah, I mean, Darth Vader and Palpatine are definitely intimidating.
I'm talking about I'm like taking out everyone who's been in the Clone Wars and was thrown into live action, like characters like that. I'm taking out. I'm talking about original new characters, new Siths. You know,
Like who?
well, like this, this guy. What's his name again? Darth Teeths.
Yeah, Darth Teeth. He
Yeah.
doesn't have an actual name.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say if it weren't for the design, I think he would be really intimidating. Just because of his entrance, of how, like, the sheer amount of power that he has there, it's very, very impressive. Like you mentioned, he flattens a building, he pushes back all these Jedi. It's very impressive. And so if it weren't for just the poor design, I think he would be really intimidating.
There, for a while there was a little snippet when we finally get the interaction between Mae and Darth Teeths, and Teeths is walking up to Mae, and they're face to face with each other, and me and Brennan's our thoughts. I can't remember, was this just my thought, or did you also think the same about the mom? That it was the mom under the mask?
I didn't think that at all.
Okay. See, for a little bit I was like, "Aw, she's gonna take off the helmet. She's gonna be like, I missed you, Mae." Literally, this is what happens.
Yeah, just
And then Mae just all the
Yeah.
way across the forest. So
yeah. It's so okay. So also here's. I had completely forgotten this until just now. But I think, so the reason that he brushes her aside, and this is what further sort of implies that Kymir is the Darth Teeth, Mae has an interaction with Kymir when he's just himself, and she decides that she's going to turn herself in. And she's going to go turn herself into the Wookiee Jedi instead of killing him. And then the next time, or when Mae appears at the hovel, that's where the Wookiee Jedi's dead. He's got a lightsaber cut across him. I had actually forgotten that until just now.
yeah.
So, you know, we sort of skipped over in episode 3 the thing that sort of causes them to leave this planet, the thing that causes Osha to join up with the Jedi.
Yeah.
So, or did I say Osha join up with the Jedi? Oh, no, never mind. I'm sorry. I confused myself.
Whoa.
I was right the first time. So Osha and Mae are twin sisters, and they have this friction building up, and Mae is like, you know, I want to do everything with you, and Osha's like, I want to have my own life. You know, typical, what I would imagine is like a typical twin sort of conundrum you have in your head, right? You're
Twins
deeply
battle.
connected, but you want to have your own life and be separate. And eventually, this leads to Mae deciding that she wants to join up with the Jedi.
Yeah.
Did I say Mae?
Yeah.
I meant Osha. Osha decides she wants to join up with the Jedi, and Mae is really mad about it. And so Mae confronts Osha, and she says, I'm not going to let you... In the beginning of the episode, they do this cute little dance where they lock hands, and they're like, together forever, sisters, never apart, stronger together. And then at the end of the episode, Mae is like... Osha's like, what are you going to do to stop me? And Mae just goes, I'll kill you!
Straight up. Yeah, she was going to murk her.
And then she just does without a second thought.
Well, yeah, she's like, she locks her in the room. She, first of all, lights up she lights up all of her artwork.
Yeah, that was so mean.
All that artwork put down to nothing. And that, I mean, I guess it was mean burning down their home and killing their mother, but the art.
The art sucks.
Man.
That really hurts. No, and it's such a fast turnaround. It's such a fast turnaround, right?
A little too
then,
fast.
Yeah. And so then Mae begins to burn down the entire stone fortress. And
Stone.
Yeah, from one lamp. Dude, okay, so here's the thing. At first, I was like, how is this stone burning? But then on second thought, I was like, okay, well, maybe we're going to imply that, like, there is some sort of chemical or substance that makes the fire burn. And because of that, it makes it so that it travels far and can, you know, still act on stone or whatever. But that stuff travels fast, dude.
Yeah.
It's like she drops it, and 2 seconds later, it's all in the room.
It's like she prepped with napalm. She was like, everyone was asleep. She was spreading napalm on everything.
Yeah. But so then the implication afterwards, so Osha is trapped in her bedroom, and she naturally escapes because she doesn't burn alive, because we see her as an adult. And she escapes to, like, the generator of this temple, this, compound or whatever, this, village. And the implication is that Mae sets the entire thing to overload. And then she walks up and she's talking to Osha, and they see each other, and this is where that scene happens that I mentioned at the beginning, where they're on opposite sides. I thought the scene was very beautiful, and Osha's like, "Where's Mom?" And Mae goes, "Mom's dead." And it's like, did you kill her? Did you just go completely psycho and to kill every single person you love? Yeah. Now, my dad told me that he thought that there was some funny business going on, and he thought that maybe the deaths were caused by the Jedi. But the corpses that we see, they don't have any lightsaber marks, they don't have any sears, and we don't actually see any Jedi in the village until Sol comes up in a little bit to save Osha.
You would really think if you just looked over the scenery of a cave collapsing, you would think you'd see some rocks on some people, but there were no rocks on anyone, if we're implying maybe that they were all killed by rubble falling.
Yeah, there really is no reason given as to why everybody's dead. Yeah. Like I said, there's no lightsaber cuts, there's no, like, blaster blasts, there's no anything. It's not like they're burnt to a crisp, right, from the flame that Mae dropped. They're all just lying down in the middle of the room, I guess.
Plaid was on sale.
Oh man, it's really weird, and so ultimately, last time we talked about this, I mentioned that I think the Master Torben's death and his self-sacrifice would be interesting to me if I felt like the backstory itself was satisfying. I don't think this backstory met that conclusion. Yeah, I was expecting, like, the reason that Torben kills himself is because he's so racked with guilt because he directly caused the incident that happened. Yeah, and look, if Mae causes the incident. Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. It felt like, why is he racked with guilt then? Yeah. Like, he didn't do anything. Like, all he did was he showed up and then he left. Mae killed everybody. Yeah.
There's so much it's just such lazy writing.
Yeah.
There's so many things that like, where I'm just like, what are you even talking about? Do you even know how fire and rocks work? Clearly not.
Well, like I said, I think that could be easily explained by just saying there's some chemical or fuel that makes it burn. Yeah. So that I'm not really gonna.
Maybe that's how everyone died. Maybe they just inhaled a bunch of the chemicals.
That is a really, really good point.
Look at me.
That actually is a really good point that I hadn't thought of. That would be interesting.
Gas leak, just like a.
Yeah, yes. It uses some kind of, the lamps use some kind of fuel and Mae shattering it. And
well, yeah, because do you remember Mae when she was setting the place on fire? The lamp thing she had to turn a knob to.
I don't remember that. I didn't pick up on
which
that.
Is ridiculously stupid. You guys have blades of light, and you guys still need to turn knobs to start fires.
Well, it's a fuel regulator.
She was.
So you could regulate the fuel, so you could control it. It's a. Anyways,
they have spacesuits. Okay, that's still a stupid point, but they still have spacesuits. You should at least have a Bic lighter or something, man.
Oh man, yeah. So I mean, ultimately, what are your final thoughts, Shayde, on episodes 3 and 4, and I guess on the Acolyte as a whole?
As a whole.
Well, as a half, because we're only halfway through the season.
Okay. Well, okay. So far, my my views have not changed on this show. I still think the way they are doing this show is just to save their own asses, to say for Disney to save their own ass and Star Wars to save their own butts. You know, I think this is kind of just an excuse to be like, hey, look at us. We're a part of the generation. we're here. We're hip.
Oh,
jinx!
Double jinx!
Triple jinx!
Quadruple jinx.
Oh.
You didn't say it. Okay, so good. Now I've got some time. I'm gonna have to. I agree that this show has ultimately been really disappointing thus far. I am gonna try, and I'm gonna be as hopeful as I can for these coming episodes to see, you know, what's the reveal gonna be on Darth Teeth? Is it gonna be Chimere? Is this gonna be a satisfying conclusion to this story? Are we gonna get some further implication? And is this actually going to tell of the rise of the Sith? Is this going to? I'm really hoping for like maybe some brief cameo of Darth Plagueis. I think that would be really good, and I think that would be incredibly fun. But there has been nothing of that thus far, and so ultimately, yeah, I guess so far I'm really disappointed. I had a lot of high hopes for this show. I mean, we talked about how excited we were in the beginning. Like the promotional material was great, the description sounds good, and we were really open about being like pretty supportive and fair when it came to like all the casting choices and all the background stuff up until the show came out. When the show came out, we were just ultimately just really disappointed. Just the writing is just not there. And so I'm really sad, Shayde.
Yeah.
I think this is I think this is I hope that these next 4 episodes sort of put a nice button on this story and actually make it feel a little good, but I'm not.
Or give us a cool grand finale, at least.
Yeah.
You know?
Give us one really awesome lightsaber battle.
Maybe bring in, no, don't bring anyone else in. Like, never mind. Just do something cool, I guess, with the characters you got.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hoping for an epic conclusion.
You didn't even bring up Plo Koon.
He's not in it.
Or not Plo Koon,
Ki-Adi-Mundi?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dumb. So here's the thing, is that I read a take. So, like, technically, the birth date of Ki-Adi-Mundi it's never been canonized. It only appears in legend. And so that's their excuse for being like, we can include him here. I have to imagine that the only reason, and I credit where credit's due, this was a tweet that somebody else put. The only reason that they had Ki-Adi-Mundi, because anybody could have said that line. Anybody. Yeah. They could have created a random Jedi. They could have brought somebody else from the past. The only reason they had Ki-Adi-Mundi say that line is because everybody knows his iconic line from The Phantom Menace, where he goes, "Impossible! The Sith have been gone for millennia!" You know, it seems intentional just to cause strife.
Yeah.
It seems to me like the only reason you want to include him is to stir the pot for no reason, and so that you can continue to say that anybody who talks bad on your show is a hateful bigot or a misogynist or whatever, because that's been the line. That's all it's been. Like, we have levied, I think, pretty fair criticism about the show. We've been fair. We've said good things about the things that we like, and we've talked candidly about the things we dislike.
Yeah.
And we've tried to be fair and corrected things that are not necessarily worthy of criticism. Actually, and I guess I didn't do this, but I wanted to correct. There have been other Star Wars projects where there have been fire in space. Yeah. It was in Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars, and so I take back my criticism from that. It just looked weird. It's just weird that she's standing there looking at it for so long. But I take back the criticism of the fact that there is fire in space because it has existed in the series beforehand. Yeah. But so we try to be fair here. We try to be fair. And when we talk bad about it, people call us hateful and bigots and misogynists. And we're just like, no. Like, we love Finn and Poe from the sequel trilogy. We love Rogue One. We love Bo-Katan. We love
Rey.
Rey.
That was the studio's fault. We
always said we like Rey. We just think the writing for her is bad, and that's due in large part to someone like J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson just not talking and them having no vision.
I'm excited to see what Rey has more for us too.
Yeah, and like Ahsoka is one of our favorite characters.
Yeah,
we constantly talk about how amazing Ahsoka is, and Leia and Padme are instrumental in the entire universe.
Yeah,
in the entire universe, and it's like that is just such a ridiculous charge to levy against us. Now look, there are obviously people online who are like that.
Yeah.
But I've been on Twitter a lot. I've been really active on X, and so my feed is full of Star Wars stuff.
You're just a nerd.
Yeah, I am a nerd. Full of Star Wars stuff. And yes, there are obviously people there who are just hateful and are just saying things and are just mad because of, the diversity decisions made. But the vast majority of people I've seen have been complaining about the actual quality of the show itself. And if you just complain about the quality and talk about how the writing is bad, then you get everybody coming at you and saying how you're hateful and how you're an evil person and how, you're wrong and you have a wrong opinion.
And that's how you get canceled.
While at the same time, these people say, it's okay, you can if you like the Acolyte, you like it. You're a fan if you like it, even if they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, and it's absolutely ridiculous. The reason we hate this show, or we don't hate it yet. I can't say we hate it because it's not over. The reason we dislike this show is because it's poorly made and it's garbage, right? Not because there are black female leads, not because there's a lot of woke diversity in here. Like, if the show were good and that stuff was still included, then we would be like, that's a little annoying, forcing your political message and everything. But we would at least be like, you know what? The show is good. Star Wars is back, baby.
Yeah.
But no, we can't say that. And if we complain about it at all, we're hateful.
Also, they make the show about it at times, too. Like, that's all it's about sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, she has a purple lightsaber?
Are you talking about Vanessa Rowe?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a light whip, too.
Oh, she's the one with the light whip.
Yeah, she's the one with the light whip.
See, I knew there was a light whip, but I was like, she's a purple lightsaber?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know.
That's okay. You got distracted. But we're going to end it there. I think this was a successful weekly fixation. Comment down below what you think of the show. What do you think, and who do you think Darth Teeth is? Do you think it is Chimere, or like me, are you hoping that this is just a misdirect? I just hope that they're being so obvious with it because it's a misdirect. I hope. I don't believe that's true, but I hope. Let us know down below. Join us at 8 o'clock tonight for a stream. We'll be playing Phasmophobia again.
Yes.
Playing another horror game.
Brennan's gonna scream like a little girl.
Yeah, that's exactly who's gonna scream, because I'm always the one who does it. But we're gonna leave it there, and we will hopefully see you tonight. If not, we'll see you Monday for a brand new news segment. Catch you guys then.